Doug Anderson and Garth Riley here with Durham Election 2010 and .ca. Go to the website, find out what this guy is all about. After a number of years of trying to get elected yourself and being defeated, decided to keep stirring the pot.
Yep. Sure. I mean, I sort of realized that there was too many candidates out there anyway. The chances of an individual, much like you guys, getting elected is pretty darn slim because the incumbents have got all the advantages.
Yeah.
I wanted to sort of level the playing field a bit. Hopefully we've accomplished some of that. And this kind of show, I think, will help do that because the incumbents aren't showing up. Hopefully people watch this. But I want to sort of go a little bit to follow up on what you were saying about farmland, and you mentioned the 407, et cetera, that sort of thing. An issue that I brought up on other things is basically a question of choices. The province basically funds the 407. They also fund the GO train. They also basically they're running the whole transportation infrastructure to a very large degree. They're handling most of the planning, or at least laying down most of the guidelines, etc. Right now we're getting sort of half-assed treatments of both the rapid transit and the highways. And the question I put to a lot of people, and you're in Clarington, which is the 407 is a big, both 407,
huge issue.
Both 407 and the GO train are big issues out there. You're in Pickering, where it's basically the 407 now ends and drops all its traffic
on both
out
ends
there.
of the spectrum. Right. So it's
both ends of the spectrum. If you were given the choice by the province of saying, look, you either get half-assed both, or we put the money into one or the other, which would you choose?
Well, honestly, you need both. But if you had to choose one, you know what? I would actually go for the 407. Clarington is still a very primarily a rural community, and quite frankly, to get around in Clarington, you need a car. That's just the reality.
Well, come on, for the Clarington residents, the existing roads get them around. The 407 is not being built for Clarington. The 407 is being built for.
You asked him a question.
Okay. Oh yeah.
Well, no, true enough. I mean, I guess.
Hold that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of advantages to the 407, and I even think a couple of environmental ones. And number one is, infrastructure builds economies. So the bottom line is, for Clarington to grow, it needs infrastructure, and having the 407 through Clarington is a good thing. There's traffic congestion on the 401. So, I guess that's why I say both. You can decide whether you go on the GO and reduce traffic congestion, or by putting that link from Peterborough, and instead of fishing it all the way down to the 401 and across, if you put that 407 in, it would actually, make it easier for people to go from the Peterborough area, because there are a lot of people who commute from Peterborough to Toronto, and you reduce congestion. You know what? You reduce idling time on the 401. I mean, if you reduce congestion on the 401, there's more people on the move, less braking, more fuel economy. There's a number of things. And there's the fact that, quite frankly, Clarington's economy, and I'll talk about Clarington, is primarily agricultural right now, and it's resident-based, and the majority of residents in Clarington pay the bulk of the taxes. So we need some diversified economy, and the 407 can help bring that.
Okay. James?
I'm caught in a catch-22.
Right.
I'm still in Pickering, and I think Pickering is a catch-22 in itself. But I find the 407 is at Pickering. No jobs have come because of the 407. So if we use the 407, and I do realize, I see your point, the 407 unquestionably will bring employment. I'm concerned because they say the 407 is going to build Pickering. The 407 is going to make Pickering. So Pickering was nothing before, and somehow it's going to be something because of 407. I totally disagree with that. Present individual suggests that there's been 4,000 jobs made in Pickering. But don't worry about it. We're going to build Seton. We're going to build the 407. People are going to move there, and we're going to give you 35,000 jobs. Well, they couldn't create 4,000 jobs, but people are having difficulty to find in 10 years. How are they going to make 35,000 jobs off of the 407?
So the 407, as far as you're concerned, didn't deliver.
Didn't deliver, and I think it's going to deliver components, but I don't think it's going to be the savior for Durham Region that people think it's going to be. We take a look, everyone says for transportation, bringing stuff in and out. We've got the Port of Oshawa right here, right now. That's a direct link to the international community. We have an agricultural community that is dying and is literally being choked off at the vine. If we had rail links, which exist there, and brought produce, food, and whatever we have a direct link to the States across the way. And this is where most of our products from this area is going, is the Eastern Seaboard and the United States of America. So we need the 407. Yes, we do, because I can see where it will bring benefits not only to Pickering to an extent, but to farther
But
field.
you know, they
people.
talk.
But you just have to look at York Region, right?
Right.
And look at the development there. Whether
Yeah.
that's the development we want, you know,
But I don't think that's
up
what we
to-
need.
That's up to
the good
the
news-
politicians to decide what that development will be.
The good
right?
news was they said, for example, that there's a no north-south, gentleman before said no north-south highway, where the north-south highway is non-existent, then the 407 doesn't necessarily have any weight to it.
No, because it's
you
just
can't
going in the
get-
same
you-
direction.
it's
It
going
doesn't
in
give
the
you
same
access.
direction. And the other thing is, the last time I checked, the 35-115, I didn't think Peterborough was that much of an economic driver that we had to be able to connect up to that sucker, except for moving.
No, you're wrong. It's huge.
What?
Do you realize that more people from Peterborough commute to GM than live in this community?
GM
Unless that statistic has changed.
Right.
And it's not. It probably hasn't changed
yeah, you
because
know.
they come from the community where I come from.
Yeah.
But yet, they're not bringing. That's not bringing money.
No, it's not bringing
That's
anybody.
bringing- that's bringing
we're
carbon.
actually, we're actually
Yeah.
migrating. We're migrating economics. We have people that are coming in as a transitory. They're driving through. We're not talking about freight. We're not talking about freight forward. We have no airport. We have no port, and we have no north-south highway. 407, good deal, bad deal. I mean, I don't know if the case is being made here. We're listening to a lot of these debates. I don't see that there's a case being made for
Yeah, well,
407.
I sort of look at the environmental assessment on the 407 is now done and it's buried, et cetera. But frankly, it's similar in many ways to the incinerator. They didn't ask the right questions. The problem with every environmental assessment is supposed to look at alternatives, including the alternative of doing nothing. And I think that, frankly, all of these environmental assessments are missing that stage. What were the alternatives to the 407?
But you asked two questions. One was about the 407 as a highway. The GO train can never be anything more than a transportation route for people, people movers.
Yep.
The 407 can carry commerce. The 407 can carry industry. The GO train carries peeps.
But if you take all the cars off the 401 that are carrying people and you put them into GO trains, which is a heck of a lot more efficient, 401
So we
doesn't
won't
have,
need GM then at all.
401 doesn't have a
people
problem.
have to make that decision, and
I am agreeing with you.
you know, I think that though, what we need to do as governments and as people is we have to get people on the GO train. You know, you can build these facilities; they're quite expensive, and the vast majority of transit systems cost taxpayers money. Okay, we need them; they're smart.
Well, the highways cost money too. Big
Well,
money.
absolutely, absolutely. But you know, the bottom line is people. Society has to change so they realize that is their better option. We can build these things. We can put bus routes. You know, you could put tons of bus routes in Clarington. It wouldn't make sense because the vast majority of people, you know, because they're farmers, aren't going to
Or
use
rural
them.
people that are used to the car
Their
and that's a way
practical
of
use
life.
of the vehicle is still
Right.
practical, right? In urban centers, absolutely.
Yep.
Toronto, sure, you need transit centers.
So if you had to choose between 407 and GO train, given what they both bring, what's the biggest priority in your area, Steve, as you would see it?
I would say the 407.
Okay.
It needs
I
to
would,
be an economic
I would
driver.
unquestionably have to
No, I'm
disagree.
not- don't-
yeah,
no,
I'm
no,
not
I'm asking you,
disagreeing.
don't
Yeah,
talk about him.
okay.
Yeah.
I'm
And you're in
GO
Pickering,
train
right?
because
We
we're
have different
closer,
areas.
right?
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. There's different communities. The 407 will not mean the same to each
No,
community.
actually, it's well said.
Yeah.
407 to get people expressively across versus gridlocked. I think you're right. We are. You know what? Until now, it's really never been put forward really well.
The 407? Yeah,
No,
I
it's-
agree. I agree. Yeah.
The argument for and against has not been put forward
Well,
well.
on the questionnaire, I was flabbergasted, quite frankly. Firstly, 95% of the people were saying, "Oh, build it as quick as possible."
Sure they
And
did.
I'm thinking,
why?
have
What is
they
the
really
reason?
thought
Well,
about
but-
this?
but they're
And
looking
the answer
at-
is no, they haven't. It's just like
But they're looking at their life as
You know
is
what?
today, and their life as is today
it's
is that they
like-
can't move.
I
You know,
think
if
they're
you'd
looking
asked-
at York
if you'd
Region
asked
is what they're
people-
looking at.
If you'd asked people in the late 1970s about the airport, everybody would have said, "Oh, you've got to have that. Absolutely have to have that airport in North Pickering."
Need it.
Yeah, absolutely needed it. Nowadays, 30 years later, we realize that
Yeah,
no, that's
okay,
not a
wait
very good
minute.
idea.
Dude, it's because somebody built a $1.5 million house up in Clarington or Claremont, and they don't want it infringed upon.
No.
Make no mistake. All those guys who built their big mansions now don't want it. Back then they wanted to have it. So I think it's a topic for debate. the good news is that you guys can have the debate and keep standing in the gap. Neither one of you are short on opinions, and neither one of you are shy to stand up, which I think is what I'm going to say that we need in these councils. And stop pulling the company line. Start pulling a line that makes some sense. We're going to head off the break. I don't know if we're coming back. We may get fired. I was fired once before. I won't tell you by who. All right. I just kidding. I quit. Talk to you soon.